Hello everyone and welcome to Wine Table and this online tasting that we have specially made out to you. We have a very special guest today. Welcome to Wine Table and Charles Smith, straight from Seattle. Made out to you. We look at you here and I will talk to Charles here. Wine Table. How you doing, Charles? Welcome.
How are you?
I'm great. This is my first broadcasting that I'm doing, so you have to bear with me if I'm making some mistakes, but I think it will be fine. We've been hanging out a few times, you and me, so we know each other.
You got it. And does everybody know that it's International Big Hair Day?
I think they figured that out right now. It's International Big Hair Day and Big Beard Day.
Yes. Big beard. Yeah, I never had a beard before either. That's new.
You look handsome.
Thank you. So do you.
Cheers, buddy. All right. So for you viewers that are here with us today, we're going to taste some wines from Charles' line. And I've been visiting Charles before in his winery in Seattle, in Jet City. And we did also this summer, we did online Instagram day drinking session together, which was really fun.
Absolutely.
But to get this thing started a little bit, I think we're gonna go and do a little presentation of you, Charles. Last time we saw each other, I was drinking Swedish wine and you were drinking Danish schnapps, right?
That was it.
It was great. How have you? What have you been drinking since?
Well, embarrassingly so. I was in my wine cellar putting wines away. This is the wines that I don't produce. And I realized I have more wine than I have room. I have reached that level of this is ridiculous and I have to stop buying wine. But I've been drinking a lot of Northern Italian wine lately. So Old Barbarolo and Barbaresco.
Oh, that's what we had when I was visiting you as well.
That I'm still on the same trend.
It's a good trend. It's a COVID trend.
Yeah, exactly. So, old world wine, restrained, made by people that maybe are no longer here. So it's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. You're an obvious rocker, music and art lover. What brought you into wine?
Well, I came to wine originally by way of hospitality industry, working in restaurants. I realized the wine part was the thing that I enjoyed the most. But I think a little bit of my emotional connection was, the holidays from when my mother would cook, like, the Thanksgiving meal and Christmas here, the smell in the house, the friends, the warmth, the intoxication, all these things. It kind of formed my emotional bond to wine, and then working in hospitality introduced me directly to wine, and therefore the two met, and here I am.
Brilliant. Would you tell us a little bit about Washington State and the winery in Seattle, just to give us a heads up before we start tasting the wines?
Sure. Modestly, I started with the goal of making 2,000 cases of wine a year, maybe making $100,000, have a small town life. About 300 miles southeast of Seattle, where my current urban winery is, out in Walla Walla. Things turned out quite differently, but I produce wine here in Washington State. I have 6 different projects. I kind of span this state. We're at the same latitude as Burgundy, and so we're at the right spot, if you will, for making wine. The soils, everybody thinks about Washington being rainy. Yes, in Seattle it's rainy, but east of the Cascades, where the wine is grown, it is dry, continental climate. All my wines are sustainable to biodynamically farmed, and all of my wines are spontaneous or native fermented. So then my winery in Seattle was to bring the wine to the people, and the people, most people live in Seattle. They visit here, so that's why I have the largest urban winery on the West Coast to receive that. And we just finished processing our last grapes for this harvest yesterday, so we're all in.
Wow!
So currently I'm making.
Insane. Did you go up there as well?
Oh yeah, I'm out in the vineyards all the time. I'll be at the winery an hour and 15 minutes from now. Right now I'm just at home. I'm sitting at my dining room table where you've been before in my kitchen. So
yeah. I recognize myself there. Hey, I'm starting to get thirsty, so should we get started in the tasting?
Absolutely.
So first up is the pop-up.
Right.
And we got the brand new 2019 sparkling label in front of us. And that's the one that you have too?
I do.
Look at that.
We have some fun today.
I cheated a little bit, so I started tasting it a little bit before.
Obviously, I'm a slacker. I didn't as yet.
So what method is used for this sparkling wine?
Well, that's very curious. There's the method champenoise, which you find in Champagne, and then you have the Charmat, which is done in a large tank where they pressurize it with CO2, and it takes about a month for it to sit like that. And then I found this other way to do it by working with this company in Italy, where instead of doing it in a large tank, 20,000 gallon tank, and adding the pressure there, and eventually, where the bubbles get into the wine. I do this thing online where it's like 25 gallons, and it comes in, it's pressurized in this tank, and goes straight to bottle. And what I do is the integration of the bubbles are in the bottle, other than in a tank, which adds another step to it, which I think can take the wines kind of dull and waxy, this Charmat bulk process for my personal taste. I want something more pressure, more focus, more purity. And doing this accomplishes it. I'm probably the only producer in the U.S. who has this apparatus because it's very expensive. But I think, as you notice, the bead is very small, and the pressure is beautiful. And we didn't sacrifice any of the freshness by doing it this way. And I much prefer it than what is the old tradition of making large sparkling wine. This is more boutique and focused. Yeah. And the idea, we should always look at how to elevate the wine. So really what you have here is, you have organically farmed 100% Chardonnay from limestone soils sitting on the Gros Lees, drawn off.
It's from a single varietal and a single vineyard, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it smells beautiful, fresh, complex, and obviously those who have a glass of it can try it.
Light bright yellow, notes of pear and green apple, peach, some almond, perhaps,
and a beautiful creamy texture.
It's really fresh and crisp.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely.
Subtle mousse. I like to say I prefer that instead of the hard aggressive bubbles. This is really my thing. Slightly sweet fruit, but really mouth-watering. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it only has 7 grams of sugar, so it's definitely brut, and with a high acid. It reminds me a little bit of the wines that I really like from Italy, but of course a different varietal. But a friend who has this winery called Caitazaga, and Valdibianone, and making surly bottle-aged stuff where there's no dosage, all done bone dry, and where the bubbles are not too much, and they're nice and soft, and you end up getting this. I don't like overly bubbly wine myself. I like everything to be integrated and in balance. Yeah.
I get some dried apricot and butter fudge as well in the end. Is that deriving from the winemaking, you think?
I think the latter part, yes, because of the leaves. But really, it's just a really good farming, a very definite expression, and where it has a wine that has an opinion, and the opinion is purity, terroir, and supple winemaking.
So, what music album is this wine?
Ooh. I was going in 2 directions. The first thing I thought was it's just too dark. But actually, you know what? I think I might just go for the Velvet Underground album, Loaded.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's what you become after drinking a few bottles as well.
Probably, but for some reason it just that really kind of soothing, dark kind of sound where really there's a lot of sunshine in this wine, but cool sunshine.
Yeah.
But for me, no, it's a velvet underground kind of day.
Cool. So when, where, and how do you drink it, preferably?
Well, I think, I can drink this as the first glass of anything, of the evening that I was going to drink, in a bar, a restaurant, or at home. I mean, just like a glass. I mean, it makes a great cocktail wine because it never gets sweet and never is not too dry. But also, I think it's great to have it with, probably anything south of, deep red meat. Anything else, salads, fish, cheeses, light things to snack on. It's just like a really good,
nice.
Think about it as a really, like the best Pilsner or lager you ever had, but it's wine, not beer, Like
That's really nice.
Just a super delicious thing to drink that you like drinking all the time.
Yeah.
And I know it's my wine and I'm supposed to, say how wonderful it is, but truly when you see the bubbles so tiny and the mouthfeel and as pleasant it is, it's a really super good wine.
It's really nice. Super fresh.
Yeah, this is the second vintage too, And I think for those who care about, if they want to, buy, cage-free eggs and, grass-fed beef and organic, chicken, getting wine that actually has purity as well, I think is important to the table.
It says it's suitable for vegans as well.
It is suitable for vegans because we don't use any animal products in the wine whatsoever.
Just eat them.
Yes, so we just eat them.
So should we move over to the next one? I know I can sip on this one forever, but
yeah, you can begin to talk about the next one while I'm drinking this one.
No, that's good. So the next one, we're off to the next one, which is the Chardonnay CH substance, and I will pour it in this beautiful Riedel glass that I have here.
I have one too.
Yeah.
So here we go.
So what areas, vineyards, do you take the fruit in this wine from?
Well, this comes from three different sites. One's called Frenchman Hills, north-facing slope of basalt, volcanic rock, at about 1,700 feet elevation, or about 500 meters, elevation. And the vines are about 20 years old. And then there's from vineyards that are soil's all chalk, and the vines are over 45 years old, called Rosa Hills. Yeah. And the remainder of it is actually coming from evergreen, which is limestone soils. And so you have three different types of soils that are really harmonious together. They give the wine a really great complexity. And once again, the wine is it's so much better than you would imagine. Thinking about American wine, a lot of times it's oaky or it's really buttery and kind of not to my taste. Not to criticize, but in particular, I want something that is more sophisticated, balanced, depth, beautiful, complex, and where you don't have to spend a fortune to get something delicious that if you were getting it from Burgundy, it would cost you 3 times as much.
Yeah, so the nose is really aromatic and expressive. I really enjoy it. It's lemon, citrus, vanilla, and some white flowers. I would say.
Yeah, like a little bit of chamomile, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe satsuma. There's a lot of really nice things going on there. You definitely get that
ripe exotic fruits.
You kind of get chamomile thing, I think, a lot of times from like limestone.
Yeah. So if this wine was an art piece, how would you display it?
It's certainly not upside down.
It's not the cross.
No, exactly. I think I would find that one of the most beautiful places in my house to display it. Actually, in my bathroom, I have a big tub. I have a beautiful painting on the wall there, and I would find it to put it in a spot that was just beautiful and fresh and bright, and where it could just stand alone. That's how That's really
nice. It's a beautiful wine.
Thank
you. I really like this one. Well, I think I had it last time we had the day drinking session as well.
Right. Well, Brennan, who works with me, Brennan Lathan. I'm director of viticulture winemaking. He's, when he started working with me in early 2000, I think 11 or 12, he always corrects me. I forget the year. One thing is I always thought of him being as one of the best white winemakers in the country, and then together we'll be able to put our heads together and really make really super good white wines. And so this is, the culmination of 8 years of working together to make the actually best wine we can possibly can. And I think this wine really shows like it kind of arrived there.
Yeah. Great. I see from my staff that we need to roll on here on the wines, so we get some time for Q&A in the end as well.
It's so good.
It is. It's great.
Yeah.
But I'm going to move over to the substance CS, the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Sure.
This is my wife's favorite wines of your wines, because her initials are CS as well.
I have it all. I have my beautiful Riedel.
Yeah.
Bordeaux glass. There you are. Boom.
Yeah, we got it here.
There you go.
Great.
So
deep, dark, black, velvet color.
Exactly.
Such a fresh wine. I've been drinking this quite a lot lately.
Thank you.
I think it's really beautiful, heavy fruit, but lush, complex structure, texture, crushing blackcurrant cassis. Yeah, lead pencil maybe. It has such a wonderful fruity and balanced length, I think, this one as well.
Well, I think that when it comes to Cabernet Sauvignon, unless you're going to have something that, is really big structure or something that's going to age, I think it should really push the depth of, dark fruit profiles. I mean, not just fruit, other things that are dark. Like you talked about, pencil shavings, pencil lead, graphite, and so forth. And coming up into a way that's not a cocktail wine, but it's not a wine that you have to wait 10 years for the wine to give you what it's going to give. And this wine would probably be amazing in 10 years. But the thing is, most people are going to drink it now, and so I want something that actually has the depth, complexity, texture, and just super pleasant to drink, and just truly tastes Cabernet Sauvignon. So all of my wines, if it says the varietal on the front, it is always 100% of that varietal. Because legally, I could make this wine 75% Cabernet Sauvignon, 25% Syrah, Merlot, Cabernet Franc. I'm not saying that those kind of combinations are not good, but I think when people want a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, it's 100% of exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's truly a rock and roll wine, I would say, since we're having that kind of subject here.
I think so. This needs.
What would you serve to it, and what record would you play for me?
I would probably play We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, Black Sabbath, and I would probably some charred grilled red meat, rare, and just a couple of simple things, maybe some French fries or a little bit of something, a little vegetable on the side or a little bit of potato, but simple. But a big, beautiful steak with lots of salt, lots of black pepper, and just enjoying something, each of them in their purity. The fruit, this wine would absorb that beefy flavor, and likewise, it would make you want to just eat this humongous steak. So we sold our soul for rock and roll, I think.
That's pretty brilliant, I think. I'm pretty surprised by the alcohol. It's quite high, 14.5, right? But I don't get the fiery sensation at all from it. No, it's so in balance.
It's actually 14.1.
Oh,
but the reason why is to be able to ship it around the world. It has to be even on a 0.0 or a 0.5. And this is like for international. So domestically, we would be putting 14.1. But because of that, we have to, and you also have to take the next one up. So really at 14.1, this is kind of the alcohol that you have in the great vintages of Bordeaux. They're never 13% in the great vintages. They're always pushing a bit of a more ripeness, And but as long as you have the restraint and you have the structure, then it can handle it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not one for wanting to drink 14.5, 16% Cabernet Sauvignons because usually the wine gets stretched out from the alcohol. This has the density and concentration.
Yeah. How long could you age a wine like this, you would say? We were talking a little bit before that. You said 10 years maybe, but is that to stretch it or?
No, I mean, from what I know with the winemaking, because the fermentation and maceration, which means the time in the skins, was like 37 days. So there's structure there, but it's very velvety. I know that the acid is really good. I know it's Cabernet Sauvignon. I know that it was aged in barrels. I know that it was never racked. So it's sat in the gross release. So there was no oxygen added to it. So reductive style winemaking. I think this wine would be amazing 8 to 10 years from now. And this is kind of those wines that is one of those sleeper wines that you forget in your wine cellar, your wine closet, or whatever you have, cabinet or whatever. And then you go, yeah, I'm just going to keep a bottle because I didn't pay a whole lot from it. Let's see what it's like. Let's drink it 10 years from now. Because you don't care because it's not that much money. These are one of those treasure. Those are kind of sleeper wines that you have that you buy for a fair amount, and then later on you get a whole lot of reward from it. That's what I think.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over to the Pinot.
Sure.
Keeping the pace. It's just my normal drinking pace as well, so of course.
Well, it's only morning here.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's evening here, so it's natural for me.
I have some wine. I think this is the way to go.
I've tasted this Pinot a few times before, quite recently as well. It tastes a lot like old world Pinots, but in a suit of the new world, if you want to call it like that, like a Burgundy in a grunge shirt.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's.
Can you comment that?
I do, because this vintage particularly, because it's the first, you're going to find the clusters will not be 100% consistent and even. So you're going to have a little bit more of the DIY thing, do it yourself, because the first vintage is not going to be perfect. Although it was a great vintage in the state for growing grapes, it's just when you're taking your first harvest, you're not going to have as many leaves on the plant. You're going to have a little bit more exposure. It's not going to be as perfect as you want. But then again, the first records of many bands and are the ones that was the inspiration of everything they've had up until that moment. And that moment of you can hear, like you're listening to, like listening to the first Ramones record. As soon as you drop that needle on there, it's just so loud, and it's got everything that they had inside that they want to get out. And this wine has that aspect to it that, subsequently when you try the 2019, the 19 is like the second album where that you like, this band is amazing. Not like they just could make just one good record. The second album is always the most difficult. Yeah. And the idea here is like, this is the raw and rugged, first record. And I can tell you, because I had a glass of the 2019 yesterday, it is amazing. I mean, it reminds me of a bottle of Burgundy that would cost $65 to $75 a bottle. And this first vintage here, this has some of that raw power, if you will. It makes me think of Iggy Pop and the Stooges, like raw power.
Yeah, it has a raw power and also an instant likability that you really get into it, and a lot of energy, which I really like in this. And it has such a length; it lingers on for eternity, which would be a good title for an album as well.
The thing is, if you're thinking New World Pinot Noir, California or Oregon, red fruit, raspberry, spice, fruit bomb, and that's what you like, you're not going to like this wine. Mm. If you're thinking Burgundy, restrained, old world, texture, crispness, freshness, I mean, wow.
Yeah, it has a bit of power and punch to it as well, I think.
It reminds me more like Corton. Corton can have that punch. It has that, but with a little bit more body. Yeah. And I don't know why, obviously it's not Burgundy. I mean, it's from Washington, but there's no Washingtonian, profile for this. I mean, I planted, produced, and continue to plant the largest planting of Pinot Noir in the history of Washington State. So literally, I'm the first to do it on any sizable level. And considering that we're at the same latitude as Pommard, it makes perfect sense. And we have the same soils as Vos, in Vos Romanée, which is all limestone. We're at 50, it's almost 60% limestone. All their first crew is on the Hup Sill, and it's the same thing. So it has those familiar notes that you've before, But it's
speaking about another subject that we have in common about art, since this one is one of your newest additions in your range, it has a slightly different look to it and the design as well. Is Ricky Korf behind this one as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
She's been such a big part of your wine journey. Can you tell a few words about that? Would be nice.
I love Rikke Korf. She's my best friend. I've known her from Denmark because I used to live in Copenhagen starting back in 1989, and I've known her since I think 1992. And she was introduced me to probably Sune Wagner, the singer of the band the Ravenettes. Earlier he had a band called Psychogenesis. So we've been friends for so long. She has incredibly good taste, very particular. She's a clothing designer, and because of our friendship and relationship, we're able to communicate really well. The inspiration for this was to go away from the black and white and go full color, but based on more like mid-century and earlier time, early 1900s American art. And so we wanted to look like an art piece because I don't consider myself an artist, but I do something that's considered artistic. And so I wanted to express that aspect of it. And when you venture off to be basically the pioneer for doing Pinot Noir in Washington State, and you make a commitment, I think that making a commitment to the label and the communication and saying that we're growing this and this is something completely new expresses just that. And the funny thing is, so this is the first wine, and the thing is, crazy enough for the folks that have some of this, or if there's still some left in Sweden, because we're sold out now here at the winery. This is a one-off. The first vintage is only going to have this label. I've changed the label.
All right.
And I will show it to you. This is one of this.
Did you guys hear that?
So what's cool about it, so if folks have this wine and don't have this wine, you should get some of this wine, and it's going to be amazing 5 years from now. But this is the next generation of the golden.
Oh, the sun or the moon has gone.
Yeah, well, what I did was I took the sunshine and expanded it across the entire horizon.
Nice.
And I made Golden West bigger. But the thing is, what's really kind of cool, which is the same thing that I did with Pop-Up, the first vintage, I gave it its own label, a one-off, and the second vintage has what's going to be the label going forward. So it's also a chance for me to express my artistic intent, and also not just have to say this is it for all time, but I can evolve.
That sounds great.
Along with the wine, because the evolution of the wine from the first vintage to the second vintage is quite astounding. But this will only be this first one will only be first time once forever, and so the next generation will only be the beginning of that. You have only so it's like the piece you gave me, numbered pieces. I mean, there's the first one and there's Ghost of that, but this is a first. There's no Ghost here, and the second vintage that's also a first. It's no Ghost. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Like an original. Hey, speaking of which, we're going over to one of Ricke's pure classic royal city. I love that crown. I think it's so cool. It's really beautiful.
It's actually Scandinavian things too. Actually, there's a goblet in the crown jewels of Denmark. There's a silver goblet that has an ivory skeleton with emerald eyes, and so I lifted that from the royal jewels because I thought it was such an amazing vessel, and I put that into my crown put it into my crown. So there happens.
That's beautiful. This is it's not available in Sweden at the moment, I think. I got one, of course, which we're going to taste now. So this is a little bit of a bonus wine.
Oh, wow.
That we have here today. Some people might have an older vintage or so, but this is 2016. It's from the Stone Ridge Vineyard, right? On the Royal Slope.
Yep.
Would you tell us something about the winemaking? What makes this wine so exceptional and a completely different price range from all the others?
Well, sometimes it's just magic. You know, it's just like you think of some really good winemakers, let's say in Burgundy, okay? You know, they have wines from the village. They have the village wine. They have the regular Gervais Chambertin. Then they make the village wine. Then they have your vineyard plot Gervais Chambertin, and then they have Chambertin. Well, the thing is the same about here. I mean, it has nothing to do with the talent of the winemaker. It has to do with the aspect and the place in the world and the earth. And this is something that the earth can only give you. And so this vineyard in particular, and this block where the Syrah is, tastes unlike anything else that I make. And not because of my winemaking. I'm a reasonably good winemaker. But the thing about it is this is an exceptionally special place in the world that can only produce this one wine. You know, for the winemaking is not particularly different from what I do. I think it's special because above the vineyard, because it faces south, on the north of the vineyard, not more than like 100 meters away, there's an apple orchard. And it's on a big slope. And when the end of the vineyard is, it's on there's a little rise to it. So what I think is through all the watering, what happens is I think it reaches all the organic materials down to the vineyard where the Syrah is. And there's this incredible potpourri of organic materials in the soils that you would not find because they all flush down from this whole slope into just where this vineyard is. There's Syrah that is just slightly north and a little west. I'm talking about, 10 meters north and 100 meters west, even got the same soils, but because it's not in that place down the bottom, it doesn't taste like this. So this
is super interesting.
Smell, as you know, I mean, as being people who like wine and get the opportunity to drink a lot of wine, there's no other Syrah that smells like this in the world.
No.
Because, I have some, evil genius. Maybe I am an evil genius, but I'm not an evil genius, or it could be. But the thing is, what's really great about this is it's the place.
I love evil geniuses.
Yes. I mean, truly. And then in the time you pour it in the glass, it's changed completely, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
we opened it a few hours ago as well, and it changed tremendously. It just opens up. So blackberries, blackcurrants, chocolate. It's meaty. It has a lot of minerals. It's blood and heavy metal, I would say,
Yeah. I think, I guess we could take the band Satyricon there from Sweden. I mean, this is Black Crows on Tombstone.
They're Norwegian, actually.
They're actually Norwegian?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a shout out to the Norwegians. So, Satyricon. And so what does this remind me of? Black Crows on a Tombstone. Yeah,
that's true. We can only hope that Sigurd is watching, actually.
Awesome.
He might do. I had a beautiful fillet of elk yesterday, a moose beef, and I think this would go beautiful to it. It's game and quite harsh, but it has all this wild taste to it. Iron, beautiful connection. What would you pair it to if you could? I mean, pick anything, or would you drink it solitary? Because I think it's such a solitary wine as well.
I think it goes two ways. I think what you're talking about, I think some wild game is a super way to go with this. So, whether it be elk or venison or something of that nature, I think it'd be amazing also with like roasted lamb. Lamb and raw go so well together. But I could also see like just letting it take the center stage and maybe just having a little piece of cheese with it and a little piece of, and just make it all about the wine. But I was going to make it about the both. I think what you had last night would be absolutely perfect with that. And I think, this is a wine that, we're coming into winter. And there in Scandinavia, this is a beautiful wine for when it's super cold outside and it's dark. It has such warmth, with a candle on the table and friends around. It's one of these kind of wines that kind of brings us our hearts all together, you know?
It's truly is a beautiful wine.
Yeah,
I really
thank
have
you.
to say that. Hey, now we tasted through these 5 wines, exceptional quality and extraordinary personality, I would say, not only because of you and your hairstyle, but definitely through your vision and ideas behind what a truly personal, cool wine could be about. It was an eye-opener for me to come to Seattle to meet Charles and his co-workers. If you get the chance to go to Jet City, you should definitely. You can look out over Boeing, the old Boeing airport. Is it called the Boeing airport, or is it just the Boeing?
Called Boeing Field, yeah. That's where all the private
the Boeing Field.
Stop, and that's where they deliver all the Boeing jets are picked up there at Boeing Field, which is right across the street. We're on the north end of the runway, and looking south, we have Mount Rainier, one of our largest mountains in the Cascade Range. Is 60 miles south. This most beautiful, massive mountain. It's like it's our northwest version of Mount Fuji. You know, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's so beautiful there.
Yeah.
Really cool. Hey, I think it's time for us to go into some Q&A.
Sure.
I think our viewers have some questions. I'm looking now at my co-workers here to see if they are on it. And they've been collecting questions. And I think the first one is, how have the corona virus, or the pandemic, we could say it like that, affected you and your business? Did you see any? Has it been restrictions on you? Can you say?
There's not been a lot of restrictions, put on us, except for there's a difficulty getting the wine to a little bit more difficult getting wine to market. Fortunately, we have good distribution partners and importers around the world that we kept the wines moving so people can get access to them. So that way it's been fine. When it came to making wine, I closed my tasting rooms in Seattle at the winery because I wanted to protect my production crew, because if we have no wine, we can't make wine because we're sick. We have no wine to sell. So we closed our tasting rooms in Seattle in July. And so, where you've been before, think about that way, just where we're making wine is the only place nobody's in the offices, only in the winery, and that's it. And that group has decided that this will be their friends for 6 months. And so that's their social group. I mean, I don't even go to the winery on a daily basis because I don't want to introduce even myself, even though I'm very careful with the coronavirus. The idea is here, we want to protect the team from getting ill and make sure that we can bring the wine to the people and long past this. So it's been difficult, as it has been for people, in our country and throughout the world. But we're doing what we can do. So it's been difficult, but we're here, and we're doing our job.
Cool. I got a question from Boo here as well. He says, I love your Cattle King. What rock song do you recommend with that?
Oh, the Cattle King? Wow. That's a good question, because that's also really deep and dark and powerful. I would probably go with Ace of Spades from Motorhead. I mean, it's a full-on wine. That's full throttle, but also, even when you listen to Motorhead and you look at the guys, and it just has such integrated, beautiful, we're all in this together kind of raw power that that I think you get with Motorhead. So I think that's definitely good. That's a Motorhead wine.
That's awesome. We got another comment here. Substance CS. The Cabernet Sauvignon is really good. Someone is tasting it with us now. It says the vintage 14 and 15 was better. Back then it could be very vibrant. Do you agree? And if so, could it go back to that?
Well, I think ask the question again, pardon me.
No, it's not so much a question. It's a statement. Substance, yes, is really good.
Sure.
But vintage 14 and 15 was better than the obvious that we tasted now, I suppose. Back then, it could be very vibrant. Do you agree? And if so, should it go back to that? I find it very vibrant still, but yeah.
I do. I think it's everybody's perception. I think there's more harmony in the wine. I think there was a little bit more rusticity, I think, in the 14 and 15, where we were basically trying to define and get all the vineyards lined up to be of similar or complementary profile. And so what I would say that if you call it vibrant, I might think that rusticity, that energy that you might have got from the 14 and 15. And I think that we might have actually even bottled the 15 unfined, which gave another rusticity. I think I was looking for something more elegance and more depth. So I'm probably not going to go back to that, but I can guarantee that every year we're exploring how we can make it more complex, more deep. And I think that's really where I'm going for. I mean, I like the rawness of wine, but there's also this elegance of wine, but with underlying power and elegance.
That's great. We got one more here, Golden West. How long can I store it? Good question.
Knowing the structure, as you can taste in the wine, I mean, and we know that Pinot Noir, which is not made wimpy can last for a long time. I mean, I think this wine is a good 10, 12 years. Be really nice because of the structure and the wine. Yeah, I mean, for me, having the experience of having wines like this, and not just ones I made, although I have a complete library of everything made, I think this wine would be absolutely kick-ass in 10 years. And for the amount you pay for it, by the time because think about it's like a flower, like a rose that's like this right now, and you get to watch it open up, and and I think it'll be like this in 10 years when they are the most fragrant and they're most beautiful. And
you pay for this, but you will get this.
Exactly. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, of all the wines you have produced, which one are you the most proud of?
Oh, that's a good question. So
that's Rick asking.
I like some of the discoveries that I've made. Discovering the Royal City, the Stone Ridge Vineyard for Royal City. That's really cool. Planting my high elevation vines of Wall, getting #2 wine in the world for Wine Spectator with a power line was really cool. But I think the idea is that communicating the language of wine to everybody, and also having allowed more people to have access to really good wine for not a lot of money, is really the most important part of what I do. I mean, not everybody can afford a bottle of Royal City, but shouldn't the same amount of effort and care and intent go into something more reasonably priced? So I would say that it's such a tough question because I think it's the lesser priced wines I make are the ones I'm most proud of. And the reason why is because I can use my skill sets and my integrity to give wine to more people to drink.
That leads us to the last question. Straight out, worldwide, which of your wines do you sell the most of?
Oh, Substance Cabernet Sauvignon right now. I mean, the wine is on fire. People love the wine because, I mean, it's 100% of what it says it is. It's completely honest and true. The price is really good. It's recognizable. And, as they say, some people say, I wouldn't know the difference between a really good bottle of wine and an average bottle of wine. That's bullshit. Most people can know the difference. What it is the thing is, when you have a wine, or like all my wines, I tell the truth all the time. And so when you're telling the truth rings true, and you get closer to the truth than you can to a lie. So what I try to do with my wines is tell the truth. And with the Substance Cabernet Sauvignon, I tell the truth of Cabernet Sauvignon, produced from the Pacific Northwest, 100% of the varietal, communicated in a way that you would recognize it. And every year, my intent is to make it better than the year before. And this is my truth.
To ride, shoot straight, and speak the truth.
It's true. To speak the truth is everything. All you have is your integrity in the end.
It's the best entombed album ever as well.
Well, there you go. That is cool. Yes, I know. My friend, my good buddy Thomas Trejo down there in Copenhagen, who writes for the Ekstrabladet. I know he loves Entombed. So I'm sure somebody actually ever heard that album. I'm sure I actually heard it at his house. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Hey, today we've been tasting through a few of Charles' wines. He has a lot of different wines, of course. These are a few brilliant examples of both grapes and terroir, I would say. And this was the tasting. We've been tasting through in different glasses from Riedel, and you can ask in the comments afterwards if you want to know which specific glass was used for which wine. I will have to thank you, Charles, for this lovely tasting. It was brilliant hanging out with you again, and I hope we can meet and see each other soon again when we are allowed to travel, hang out, down a few bottles again together.
Several. That means 4 or
Several.
more.
Yeah, at least.
Yes.
I remember, just to finish this off, I remember coming to your dinner and me and Niklas had just drunk quite a bit with before, of course. And then we got each other's bottles that no one could taste. So we all had to drink one more bottle each, which was pretty damn heavy, but it was so good. I thank you for that memory, which is told to me afterwards.
You guys can take it. So thank you for taking the time to have me on your thing today. And, with all hope that things get a little bit better, I hope to see you in Scandinavia this coming summer. I mean, hope so.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you that followed us during these 45 minutes of wine, art, and rock and roll. We're going to have to quit now, and I turn over to Swedish if you want to listen to, or if you want to leave, Charles, that's also fine.
I'll listen to it in Swedish. I haven't heard it for a long time, so I'll pretend like I'm watching television, but no subtitles.
Men jag vill bara påminna att ni ska prenumerera på vår YouTube-kanal Winetable på YouTube, och missa absolut inte nästa veckas provning med fokus på skaldjur. Då kommer Maja, favorit-Maja, allas favorit-Maja, den bästa Maja, och stjärnkrögaren Claes Lindberg. Det här kan bli riktigt intressant. Provningen är den 5 november klockan 7 på kvällen, precis som det ska vara. Och ni kan kika in på vinerna redan nu så de kan beställas hem om de inte finns på ert lokala systembolag. Jag tackar och bockar för mig. I thank you, Charles, once again. I thank my crew. I thank all of you.